Hi everyone, this is Subeda from Zephyr Lake Carmelite Mission. Today I'm going to begin my first video on living as a Carmelite, as a lay Carmelite. It's the formation journey, and this is going to be my phase 1, lesson 1. There are 12 lessons, and this video is going to be on lesson 1. As I said earlier, this is just going to be a very high level synopsis because formation usually happens in phase 1 happens over a period of 12 months and at least 2-hour formation class and meetings where the candidate goes through, first of all, the acceptance into the formation and then the formation itself. So this is just going to be a very high level synopsis of what we learn and not a replacement for actually going through formation. A little bit about how third orders came into existence is that throughout history, many people, men and women, had given up the life in this world to lead a more religious, more austere life, dedicated wholly to God. And they were, called sisters, religious monks, and they had monasteries. And when lay people saw their way of life and they were attracted to that way of life, to those specific religious orders, then they started to live that particular charism out as lay people. And so through time, organically in the church, over time, these lay groups were formed, and they were called as either tertiaries or as third orders. As we all know, all people are called to holiness. We all experience a universal call to holiness, regardless of time, culture, or language. The heart of man has always had this inbuilt thirst to know and love and relate to its creator. We see this in many discoveries that are made. Even the cavemen were trying to worship God. So this thirst for holiness, this thirst to know God is there in every person. And some people are called to a higher level of commitment to pursue this call. And so during our first year of lay Carmelite formation, we first of all begin to discern whether we are called to this religious way of life or not, because it comes with certain commitments, and also we need to know if it is truly God who is calling or if it is something that we are deciding on our own. Because when we decide something which is in alignment with what God has in mind for us, that's when we experience peace and joy. It is a peace and a joy that cannot be explained and can only be experienced. And also discernment, it's a two-way process. Since during the discernment process, the candidate is trying to figure out if they fit in with the community, but also the community is trying to assess to see if the candidate is suitable for that particular Carmelite community and their way of life. And as we all know, formation is a lifelong process. It's a journey. It is not a class. It is a transformation of the heart, and it takes time. And it's a transformation that helps us become better versions of ourselves and helps us to relate with other people and also with God. It's all three. It impacts all three. So after the discernment, the first year the person is discerning whether they are called to religious life, but they are also to discern if they are called to this particular religious charism. Because there are many different charisms in the Catholic Church. There are many different religious orders, and different religious orders have particular charisms or gifts or some prompting that they have. And I'd like to read about some of the prominent religious orders and their charisms from our formation manual, which is probably also in Climbing the Mountain book. But this is written by Father John Malley O'Carm, and he gives a description of the major religious orders in the Catholic church. So first one, he says, the Benedictine charism is one of praise and worship of God, and a division of the day into work and periods of prayer. Dominican friars are known for their ability to preach among the people. The Franciscans follow Christ in poverty and simplicity, and they are known for their connection with and respect of creation. The Jesuits bring the word of God through their obedience to the Pope. They are known for their zeal in defending the church. They have gone out to unknown places and brought the word of God to the missions. And then there is this quotation from Fundamental Values of Carmelite Spirituality, again by Father John Malley. Franciscans might talk of poverty and peace, Dominicans of truth and the word of God, the Jesuits of obedience and the greater glory of God. But Carmelites identify the presence of God with love. So that's the charism that the Carmelites have. It is one of prayer, one of discovering God in the interior of our heart. That is our charism, prayer. So if the person is more attracted to serving the poor, they may be more suitable for a Franciscan third order. Or if they feel more inclined about preaching, they may be attracted to the Dominican third order. But those who are very concerned with the creation, respect for creation, they may also be called to the Franciscan way of life. But for us, Carmelites, it's around finding God in the interior of our heart, finding the presence of God, living in the presence of God every moment of the day. That's what our charism is. And for people who are called to be Carmelites, prayer will not be a burden. Prayer would come very easily, or rather, prayer would be something they would love to do. It will not be a burdensome task. And so that is the way that we identify over the 12-month period. We identify if we have a call to Carmel and a call to a religious life. And as lay people, we can still go to work, we still take care of our families, all those commitments we have to, we do this in addition to that. One thing to remember is that the Carmelite vocation is not an additional devotion that we add to our day-to-day life. It is a way of life. In fact, the Carmelite order, it's a mendicant religious order. There are 4 major mendicant religious orders in the Catholic Church. It's the Dominicans, Franciscans, Augustinians, and the Carmelites. And what are mendicants? Mendicants, they depend on alms and the practice of petitioning for assistance from others for their existence. Obviously, today even the friars have jobs, but that used to be the way that they would, that's how they lived. Well, that's all the formation, that the formation candidate has to discern in year 1 is if they are having a call to religious life and if they are able to commit to that way of life, which involves certain prayers, certain prayer practices, as well as certain practices of living that they need to. It's a radical change and a radical transformation of their life, and are they willing to make those commitments? So during formation, there's really 2 things. One is you learn about the history, the tradition, the spirituality, the rules and statutes, but also putting all those that we learn into practice. Both need to happen, learning and experience by living. So being a Carmelite is not just a devotion that is added to life. It is a way of life. It is a vocation. And people who are 18 to 69 years old can begin their formation. And the formation is for 6 years. Phase 1 is for 12 months. And the groups will meet every month with the formation instructor and or the formation director. And the curriculum includes history of Carmel, Carmelite way of life, the rule of Saint Albert, who documented the rule for the Carmelites. The lay Carmelite rule is slightly different from the friars and the religious sisters because it is modified for lay people who go to work and who have families to provide for. And also we learn about the organization, the structure, and how does lay Carmelite order fit into the Carmelite order, and how the Carmelite order fits in with the overall church hierarchy. So we learned that. And then, of course, we have introduction to the prayer life, Carmelite way of praying, the liturgy of the hours, and meditation using Lectio Divina method with the scriptures, meditation with the scriptures. And we learn about the scapular devotion, and we spend a lot of our time on emulating, learning, and living out as our role model Mary, the Mother of God, as well as Prophet Elijah. They are the two role models for us as Carmelites. But we also read about many of the Carmelite saints and blesseds in our phase 1. But the most important thing in phase 1 is discernment and being sure that we want to continue into the next phase of formation. So that's what happens in those 12 months. With that, I'm going to conclude today's video, and for our next video, lesson 2, we will begin on the Carmelite history, how the order came into existence. So that's what we will cover in lesson 2 of phase 1. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have a blessed day.